Maya's hands were shaking as she stood in front of the enormous iron gates. She had seen big houses before, but nothing like this. The mansion behind those gates looked like something from a movie. 3 stories high, with white columns and windows that seemed to go on forever. She checked her phone one more time. Yes, this was the right address. The gates buzzed open before she could even press the intercom. Someone had been watching. Maya walked up the long driveway, her worn sneakers crunching on the perfect gravel. Her backpack felt heavy on her shoulders. Inside was just her lunch, a water bottle, and her phone. She couldn't afford to look unprofessional on her first day. This job had to work out. It just had to. Maya thought about her little brother Daniel waiting at home. 14 years old and sick more days than he was healthy. The medications he needed cost more than their rent. When their mom died 2 years ago, Maya had promised to take care of him. She'd been working at the diner downtown, but the tips weren't enough anymore. Daniel's doctor had added another prescription last month. That's when Maya knew she needed something better. The cleaning agency had called her 3 days ago. They needed someone reliable for a wealthy family's estate. The pay was almost double what she made at the diner. Maya had said yes before they even finished explaining the job. A side door opened as she approached the house. A short woman in her 60s stepped out, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a crisp black uniform and looked at Maya with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "You're the new girl, Maya Rodriguez, correct?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm so grateful for this opportunity." The woman's expression didn't change. "I'm Mrs. Chen. I run this household. You'll follow my instructions exactly. No questions, no mistakes." "Understood." Maya nodded quickly. "Yes, ma'am." Mrs. Chen led her inside through a service entrance. Even the back hallways of this place were nicer than any apartment Maya had ever lived in. Marble floors, paintings on the walls, fresh flowers on every table. How much money did someone need to live like this? "The family is the Thorntons," Mrs. Chen explained as they walked. "Mr. Richard Thornton owns Thornton Industries. Perhaps you've heard of it." Maya hadn't, but she nodded anyway. "Mr. Thornton travels constantly for business. He's rarely here. When he is here, you are to be invisible. Do your work and stay out of his way. Is that clear?" "Very clear." They passed through a kitchen bigger than Maya's entire apartment. 2 other staff members were preparing food, but they barely glanced up. Mrs. Chen grabbed a supply cart loaded with cleaning products and pushed it toward Maya. "You'll start on the main floor. These marble floors must be cleaned every morning. Use exactly 2 capfuls of this solution in warm water. Not hot, warm. The windows in the library need dusting. The drawing room needs vacuuming. I'll check your work at noon." Maya's head was spinning, trying to remember everything. Drawing room? She wasn't even sure what that was. "One more thing," Mrs. Chen said, her voice dropping lower. "Mr. Thornton has a son. He lives in the West Wing. You won't see him much. He keeps to himself. But if you do encounter him, the same rules apply. Invisible, professional, no personal conversation. These people live in a different world than us, and they prefer to keep it that way." With that, Mrs. Chen disappeared down another hallway, her footsteps clicking away on the marble. Maya stood alone with her cart in the middle of the massive entrance hall. A chandelier hung above her head that probably cost more than she'd earned in 10 years. A curved staircase swept up to the 2nd floor. Everything gleamed and sparkled. She took a deep breath. She could do this. For Daniel, she could do anything. She started with the floors, just like Mrs. Chen had instructed. The work was hard but familiar. Cleaning was cleaning, whether it was a small diner or a mansion. Maya fell into a rhythm, her mind wandering as her hands worked. Daniel had been so brave at the hospital last week. The new medicine made him tired and nauseous, but he never complained. He just asked when he could go back to school, back to his friends. Maya had lied and said soon. The truth was, his doctors weren't sure when or if he'd be strong enough for a full school day. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Maya ignored it. Mrs. Chen had said no personal phones during work hours. But then it buzzed again. And again. Maya's stomach dropped. Multiple texts in a row meant something was wrong. She pulled out her phone with soapy hands. 3 messages from Daniel's school nurse. Daniel having episode. Difficulty breathing. Need guardian to pick up immediately. Please respond ASAP. The phone slipped from Maya's fingers and clattered on the marble. She grabbed for it and knocked the mop bucket instead. Water and soap flooded across the perfect floor, spreading in every direction. No, no, no. Maya dropped to her knees, trying to soak up the mess with the small towel from her cart, but there was too much water. It just kept spreading. Her phone was still on the floor, the nurse's messages glowing on the screen. Daniel needed her. Her baby brother couldn't breathe, and she was here an hour away, watching soap bubbles float across some billionaire's floor. Maya was crying now, still trying to mop up the water with her bare hands. This was it. She'd be fired on her first day. No job, no money, and Daniel alone at school struggling to breathe? What's going on here? The voice came from behind her, deep and unexpected. Maya's heart stopped. She turned her head slowly. A man stood in the doorway she hadn't even noticed. Tall, probably late 20s, wearing dark jeans and an untucked button-down shirt. His dark hair was messy, like he'd just woken up. He stared at her kneeling in the puddle of soap water, at her tears, at the phone still glowing on the wet marble. This had to be the son. The one who lived in the West Wing. The one she was supposed to stay away from. "I'm so sorry," Maya stammered, climbing to her feet. "I'll clean this up. I'll fix it. Please, I just need 5 minutes. My brother, he's at school and he can't breathe and I don't know what to do." The words tumbled out in a rush. She was making no sense. Any second now, he'd call Mrs. Chen and she'd be thrown out. Maya pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to stop more words from escaping. The man's expression changed. His eyes went from confused to concerned. He looked at her phone screen, then back at her face. "Your brother needs you right now," he said quietly. Maya nodded, unable to speak. "Then go. Go right now. I'll handle this mess." Maya blinked. "What? You heard me. Get out of here. Go take care of your brother. That's more important than any of this." He gestured at the soapy floor like it meant nothing. Maya grabbed her phone, her hand still shaking. She looked at him one more time. This stranger who was being kind for no reason at all. Then she ran. She ran through the service entrance, down the long driveway, through those iron gates. Her bus was just pulling up to the stop outside. Maya jumped on, her heart pounding, her uniform still damp from the soapy water. As the bus pulled away, she looked back at the mansion one last time. She probably wouldn't have a job tomorrow, but Daniel needed her today, and that's all that mattered. The school nurse was waiting outside when Maya burst through the doors. Daniel sat on a bench, hunched over, his breathing coming in short, painful gasps. His face had that pale grayish color that Maya had learned to dread. "Danny!" She dropped to her knees in front of him, taking his hands. They were ice cold. "I'm here now. It's okay. I'm here." He looked up at her with scared eyes. At 14, he still looked like a little kid when he was sick. The nurse handed Maya his inhaler, but Maya knew it wouldn't be enough this time. They needed to get to the clinic. The bus ride felt like forever. Maya kept her arm around Daniel, feeling each struggled breath. She did the math in her head. The clinic visit would cost $80. Money she didn't have until her first paycheck. If she even still had a job to get a paycheck from. At the clinic, they waited for 2 hours. Maya filled out forms she'd filled out a dozen times before. Finally, a doctor called them back. Young guy, maybe 30, with tired eyes that said he'd seen too many cases like Daniel's. He examined Daniel, asked questions, listened to his heart and lungs. Then he looked at Maya with an expression she'd come to recognize. "Bad news. His current medication isn't controlling the symptoms anymore," the doctor said. "His heart is working too hard. We need to switch him to a stronger treatment." Maya's stomach twisted. "How much stronger?" The doctor wrote something on his prescription pad. "It's newer, more effective. The cost is around $3,000 per month." The room tilted. Maya grabbed the edge of the examination table. "3,000? But our insurance won't cover it. I'm sorry. It's classified as an experimental treatment, even though it's the best option for cases like Daniel's." Maya looked at her brother sitting on the crinkly paper, so small and scared. $3,000. She didn't make that much in 3 months, even with the new job. If she still had the new job. Is there anything else? Any other option? The doctor's face softened with pity Maya hated to see. "We can try adjusting his current dosage, but honestly, I don't think it'll be enough. His condition is progressing." They left with the adjusted prescription and an appointment for next week. Daniel was quiet on the bus ride home. He always got quiet after doctor visits, like he could hear the things Maya and the doctors didn't say out loud. Their apartment building looked even more run down than usual. Peeling paint, a broken front door that wouldn't lock, stairs that creaked with every step. Home. Maya made Daniel soup and turned on his favorite show. She sat next to him on their lumpy couch, watching him more than the TV. His breathing was a little better now, but still not right. Never right. Maya? His voice was small. Yeah, buddy? Am I going to die? Her heart cracked. No, don't say that. Don't even think it, I heard the doctor. He said my heart is working too hard. That means it could stop, right? Maya pulled him close, blinking back tears. You're going to be fine. I promise. I'll figure something out. But alone in her bed that night, Maya cried into her pillow. She'd made a promise she didn't know how to keep. $3,000 might as well be $3 million. The next morning, Maya got dressed in her cleaning uniform again. Her hands shook as she buttoned it. Maybe Mrs. Chen had already called the agency. Maybe they'd tell her not to bother coming in. But she had to try. She had to face whatever consequences were waiting. The bus ride to the mansion felt like riding to her own execution. Mrs. Chen was waiting at the service entrance. Her face was unreadable. You're late, was all she said. I'm sorry, I had to make sure my brother got to school okay. About yesterday I can explain. Your card is in the main hall. The library needs attention today. Mrs. Chen turned and walked away. That was it? No yelling, no firing? Maya stood confused for a moment, then grabbed her cart and hurried to the library. The library was the most beautiful room Maya had ever seen. Floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with thousands of books. Leather chairs, a fireplace, windows overlooking gardens. She started dusting, trying to process the fact that she apparently still had a job. How's your brother? Maya spun around, nearly dropping her duster. It was him. The son from yesterday. He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, watching her with concerned eyes. He's okay. Thank you for asking. Maya turned back to the shelves, hoping he'd leave. Mrs. Chen's words echoed in her head. Invisible. Professional. But he didn't leave. He walked into the room and sat in one of the leather chairs. What's wrong with him, if you don't mind me asking? Maya kept dusting. Heart condition. He's had it since he was born. That must be scary. Something about his tone made Maya pause. It wasn't pity. It was understanding. She glanced at him. He was looking at an old photograph on the side table. A woman with kind eyes and dark hair. My mom died from heart disease, he said quietly. 5 years ago. I was 23. I remember that feeling of helplessness, watching someone you love struggle and not being able to fix it. Maya didn't know what to say. This rich guy in his expensive clothes living in this mansion. He understood something she thought no one in his world could understand. I'm sorry about your mom, she said finally. I'm sorry about your brother. He looked up at her. I'm Ethan, by the way. I know we're not supposed to talk, but I figured since we're past the whole soap water incident, we might as well know each other's names. Maya couldn't help but smile a little. Maya. Nice to officially meet you, Maya. He left after that, but something had shifted. Over the next few weeks, Maya kept running into Ethan. At first, she thought it was coincidence. But then she realized he was finding reasons to be wherever she was working. He'd wander into the dining room while she polished the table. Show up in the hallway when she was vacuuming. Sit in the library reading while she organized books. And he'd talk to her. Just casual conversation at first. How was her day? Did she like working here? Small things. Maya knew she should shut it down. Mrs. Chen's rules were clear. But Ethan was the first person in months who talked to her like she was a real person. Not just someone to take orders from or feel sorry for. He had a quiet way about him, thoughtful and a little sad. He didn't act like other rich people she'd seen. No arrogance, no showing off. One evening, Maya was working late. Daniel was sleeping over at his friend's house, one of the rare times his health was good enough. She was in the library putting books back on high shelves when Ethan appeared again. You like reading? He asked, noticing how carefully she handled each book. I used to. I don't have much time anymore. Or money for books, and what kind of books? Maya climbed down the ladder, embarrassed. Anything, really. I like getting lost in other people's stories, forgetting about real life for a while. Ethan walked along the shelves, running his finger across the spines. These books just sit here. Nobody reads them. My dad collected them because that's what wealthy people do. But he's never opened half of them. My mom was the reader. He pulled out a worn paperback. This was her favorite. Jane Eyre. She read it every year. He held it out to Maya. Take it. Read it. I can't take your mom's book. She would have wanted someone to enjoy it. Books are meant to be read, not trapped on shelves. Maya took it carefully. The pages were soft from being handled with love. Thank you. Over the following weeks, Ethan left more books for her. He'd place them on her cart with little notes. Thought you might like this one, or this made me think of you. Maya started leaving him notes back, telling him what she thought of each book. They'd talk during her breaks. Ethan told her about his life, how his dad was never around, how he worked from home as a software developer because he refused to join the family business. How lonely this giant mansion felt. Maya told him about Daniel, about their mom, about how hard it was trying to be a parent when you were barely an adult yourself. One night, they were sitting in the library long after Maya should have gone home. She told him about the new medication Daniel needed, the impossible cost. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Let me help. I can pay for the medication." Maya's blood went cold. She stood up fast, the book falling from her lap. "So, Maya, I have the money. It's nothing to me. No." The word came out harder than she meant. "I'm not a charity case. I don't need you to rescue me. That's not what I'm trying to do, isn't it?" Maya grabbed her things. "Is that what this has been? You feeling sorry for the poor girl who cleans your house? Making yourself feel good by giving her books and attention? You know that's not true. I don't know anything about you." "Not really. We're from completely different worlds, Ethan. You live in a mansion. I live in a building with roaches. You can throw around $3,000 like it's nothing. That's more money than I've ever seen in my life. So you won't let me help because I have money? That doesn't make sense, and it makes perfect sense. I take care of my own. That's what my mom taught me. I don't need handouts from rich guys who think money solves everything." Maya left before he could respond. She was so angry her hands were shaking, but underneath the anger was something else. Fear. Fear that she was pushing away the one person who seemed to care. Fear that her pride would cost Daniel his health. But more than that, fear of what she was starting to feel every time Ethan looked at her, something she had no right to feel. Maya avoided Ethan for 3 days. It wasn't hard. The mansion was big enough that she could plan her cleaning schedule around him. When she heard his footsteps, she'd move to another room. When she saw him in the hallway, she'd take a different route. Mrs. Chen noticed but said nothing. On the 4th day, Maya arrived to find a small brown box on her cleaning cart. No note, but she knew who it was from. Inside was homemade empanadas, still warm, wrapped carefully in foil. Her favorite food. She'd mentioned it once in passing weeks ago. Maya stared at the box for a long time. Then she did something she'd been too proud to do before. She pulled out her phone and texted Ethan. She'd gotten his number the week before when he'd asked if he could send her book recommendations. "Thank you for the empanadas. I'm sorry for what I said." The response came immediately. "I'm sorry too. Can we talk?" They met in the library that evening. Maya brought a container of empanadas she'd made herself, using the last of her grocery money. It was the only thing she had to offer. "I made these for you," she said, setting them down. "We're even now," Ethan smiled. "They smell amazing." He took a bite and his eyes widened. "These are way better than the ones I got. Don't lie, I'm serious. Where'd you learn to cook like this?" "My mom. She said empanadas were about more than food. They were about putting love into something with your own hands." Maya sat down across from him. "Look, I know you were just trying to help. I shouldn't have snapped at you. You were right, though. I wasn't thinking about how it would feel from your side. I just saw a problem I could solve and jumped in. That was wrong." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, eating empanadas. Then Ethan spoke again. "Can I tell you something? About why I really wanted to help?" Maya nodded. "When my mom got sick, we had all the money in the world. The best doctors, the best hospitals, experimental treatments. But none of it mattered. She still died. And I felt so useless. All that wealth, and it couldn't save the one person who mattered." He paused. "When I saw you with Daniel's emergency, it brought everything back. But this time I thought maybe I could actually help someone. Maybe the money could mean something." Maya's throat tightened. "I didn't know. I thought you were just being rich and fixing things." "I was, but not for the reasons you thought." Over the next 2 weeks, things shifted between them. They were more honest with each other. Ethan told her about the fights with his father, how Richard Thornton expected him to give up his software work and take over the company, how he felt trapped in this mansion, living a life that wasn't really his. Maya told him about the nights she couldn't sleep, worrying about Daniel, about how guilty she felt every time her brother asked if he could do normal kid things like play soccer or go camping, things his heart couldn't handle. One night, Ethan showed her his office in the West Wing. It was the first time she'd been in that part of the house. His space was completely different from the rest of the mansion. Computers everywhere, whiteboards covered in code, empty coffee cups. It felt lived in, real. "This is where I actually work," he said. "I built a software company. Small, but it's mine. We make accessibility programs for people with disabilities. It's not going to make billions, but it matters. Your dad must hate that. He thinks I'm wasting my potential, that I should be focusing on the family legacy, not playing with computers." Ethan sat at his desk looking tired. "He hasn't really talked to me since my mom died. We're just two people living in the same house, avoiding each other." Maya understood loneliness. She'd been living it for 2 years. "I'm sorry. That sounds awful." "It is. But lately it's been better. Because I have someone to talk to now." The way he looked at her when he said it made Maya's heart beat faster. She knew she needed to leave, but she didn't want to. Then everything changed on a Tuesday morning. Maya was cleaning the main entrance when a car pulled up outside. A black luxury sedan, the kind with tinted windows. She watched through the window as a man stepped out. Tall, silver-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her yearly salary. His face was hard, all sharp angles and cold eyes. Richard Thornton. The father. He wasn't supposed to be home for another week. Mrs. Chen appeared from nowhere, her face tense. "Quick, finish up and get to the back rooms. Mr. Thornton doesn't like seeing staff when he first arrives." Maya grabbed her cart and hurried away, but not before she caught Richard Thornton's eyes through the window. He stared at her for a moment, his expression unreadable, then walked inside. For the rest of the day, the mansion felt different. Staff moved quieter, faster. Even Mrs. Chen seemed nervous. Maya kept to the back areas, cleaning rooms she'd already cleaned just to stay out of sight. That evening, she heard raised voices from behind the closed doors of Richard's office. One voice was Ethan's. She shouldn't listen, but she couldn't help pausing in the hallway. "You're different," Richard's voice said, cold and sharp. "You actually left your room. Mrs. Chen says you've been wandering the house, actually engaging with life." "What changed? Does it matter? You should be happy I'm not hiding away anymore." "I'm suspicious. You don't just suddenly become social after 5 years of isolation. Someone's influencing you." There was a pause. "I made a friend. That's all." A friend. The way Richard said it made the word sound dirty. "Mrs. Chen mentioned you've been spending time with the new cleaning girl." "That true?" Maya's blood turned to ice. "Her name is Maya. And yes, we're friends." "Friends?" Richard laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Son, people like her don't become friends with people like us. They see dollar signs. They see an opportunity. You don't know her. I know the type. Poor desperate, probably has some sob story about a sick family member. Am I close?" Maya felt sick. She should walk away, but her feet wouldn't move. "Don't talk about her like that." Ethan's voice was angry now. "She's not like that. She's worked harder in her life than you or I ever will. She's raising her 14-year-old brother alone while working full-time. She's the strongest person I've ever met." "Ah, so there is a sob story. Even better. Let me guess, sick brother needs expensive treatment? And you, my naive son, are ready to be her hero." "It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I've seen this play 1,000 times in business. People identify your weakness and exploit it. Your weakness is that soft heart you got from your mother. This girl found it and she's using it. You're wrong. Am I? Tell me. Has she mentioned money troubles? Has she told you about medical bills? Has she painted a picture of herself as a struggling victim?" Silence. Maya closed her eyes, tears burning behind them. "That's what I thought," Richard continued. "I'm going to handle this before it becomes a real problem." "Stay away from her, Ethan. That's an order. You can't order me to. I can and I will. You're 28 years old, still living in my house. If you want to continue that arrangement, you'll do as I say." Maya didn't wait to hear more. She walked quickly toward the service entrance, her vision blurred with tears. She needed to get out of this house, away from these people who thought they knew her life. The next morning, Mrs. Chen called her into the same office where Richard and Ethan had argued. Richard Thornton sat behind his massive desk, looking at Maya like she was a business problem to solve. "Sit down, Miss Rodriguez." Maya sat, her back straight, refusing to show fear. I'll make this simple. I know about your situation. Single guardian, sick brother, expensive medical needs. I also know you've been fraternizing with my son. We're friends. That's all. There's no such thing as just friends between people from your world and mine. There's only transactions. He pulled out a checkbook. I'm prepared to offer you $10,000. You take this money, quit this job, and stay away from Ethan. Use it for your brother's medical care. Everyone wins. Maya stared at the check he was writing. $10,000. 3 months of Daniel's medication. A small fortune to her. Richard slid it across the desk. This is more money than you'd make in half a year. Take it, walk away. It's the smart choice. Maya looked at the check. Then she looked at Richard Thornton's cold eyes. She thought about Ethan, about their late-night talks, about how he understood her in ways no one else did. She thought about her mother, about dignity, about what she wanted Daniel to learn about standing up for yourself. She picked up the check. Richard smiled, satisfied. Then Maya tore it in half. I don't want your money, and I'm not some gold digger trying to trap your son. Maybe in your world everything's for sale, but not in mine. Not me. Richard's smile disappeared. His face went hard. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. Get out of my office. Maya stood, her legs shaking but her head high. She walked to the door. You're fired, by the way, Richard called after her. I'll call the agency. You're done here. Maya didn't turn around. She walked straight to her locker, grabbed her bag, and headed for the service entrance. But before she could leave, someone grabbed her arm. Ethan. His face was flushed, angry. I heard everything. My office is right above his. These walls are thinner than he thinks. Let me go. Your father's right. This was a mistake. My father's a miserable man who thinks money is the only thing that matters. He's wrong. Ethan's grip tightened. Don't leave, please. I just got fired. I don't have a choice. Yeah, then I'm leaving too. Maya pulled her arm free. Don't be stupid. This is your home. This isn't a home. It's a prison made of marble and money. It hasn't been a home since my mom died. He looked at her with desperate eyes. You're the first real thing in my life in 5 years. I'm not letting you walk away because my father's a jerk. The door behind them opened. Richard stood there, his face a mask of fury. What did you just say? The hallway went silent. Richard Thornton stood in the doorway, his face turning red with anger. Ethan didn't move, didn't back down. Maya could feel the tension crackling in the air like electricity before a storm. You heard me, Ethan said, his voice steady. This place hasn't been a home since Mom died. You made sure of that. How dare you? Richard's voice was low, dangerous. After everything I've provided for you. This roof over your head, the education, the opportunities. Opportunities I never wanted. A life I never asked for. Ethan stepped forward. You want to know why I've been happier lately? Why I've actually been leaving my room? It's because of Maya. She's real. She doesn't care about the Thornton name or the money. She sees me as a person, not a business investment. Richard's eyes shifted to Maya. The look he gave her was pure ice. She's a maid who cleans toilets for a living. And you think that's real connection? That's not connection, son. That's her playing a role to get what she needs. You're wrong. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. But you can't see that because you've forgotten what real human connection looks like. You've been so buried in business deals and profit margins that you forgot how to actually care about people. I care about you. That's why I'm protecting you from making a massive mistake. No, you're trying to control me. Like you've tried to control everything since Mom died. Well, I'm done. Ethan turned to Maya, then back to his father. I'm leaving. Today, right now. Richard laughed, sharp and bitter. And go where? Live on what? You think your little software hobby will support you? It's not a hobby. It's a real company. I have clients, contracts, income. I've been building it for 3 years. I don't need your money. Then you won't have it. Richard's voice went cold. You walk out that door with her, you're out of this family. No trust fund, no inheritance, no safety net. You'll be cut off completely. Maya couldn't stay quiet anymore. Stop, both of you, just stop. She looked at Ethan. Don't do this. Don't throw away your family because of me. He's not my family. Not anymore. Ethan's voice cracked slightly. My family was my mom. She's gone. He's just a man I happen to share DNA with. Richard flinched like he'd been slapped. For just a second, Maya saw something other than anger in his eyes. Pain maybe, or regret. But it disappeared quickly, buried under years of building walls. Fine, Richard said. Leave, see how far you get in the real world. You'll come crawling back within a month. Don't count on it. Ethan grabbed Maya's hand and pulled her toward the service entrance. She was too shocked to resist. They burst out into the bright afternoon sun, both breathing hard like they'd been running. What did you just do? Maya's voice was shaking. Ethan, you can't just leave your entire life because I didn't leave my life. I left a house. There's a difference. He was still holding her hand. Come on, I need to grab some things from my room. They went back inside through a side door, avoiding the main areas where Richard might be. Ethan's room was surprisingly simple for someone who grew up wealthy. A bed, a desk with 3 monitors, bookshelves overflowing with tech manuals and novels. He grabbed a duffel bag and started throwing in clothes. Where are you going to go? Maya asked. I have a friend with an apartment. He's been asking me to move in for months. Said I was wasting away in this mansion. Ethan packed his laptop and chargers. It's not fancy, but it's real life. Something I should have done years ago. Maya sat on his bed, her head spinning. Everything was happening too fast. Your father will never forgive you. Good. I don't want his forgiveness. I want my freedom. Ethan stopped packing and looked at her. Maya, I need to tell you something. And I need you to let me finish before you say anything. Her heart started racing. I think I'm falling in love with you. Actually, I know I am. It's not about feeling sorry for you or trying to save you. It's because you're strong and real and you don't let the world break you even when it tries. You fight for your brother. You work yourself to exhaustion, and you still find energy to argue with me about books. He smiled slightly. You make me want to be better. To actually live instead of just existing. Maya couldn't breathe. Ethan, I know our worlds are different. I know there's 100 reasons why this is complicated. But I also know that I've been dead inside for 5 years and you brought me back to life. That has to mean something. Before Maya could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it and his expression changed. It's Mrs. Chen. She says we need to come to the library now. She says it's about your brother. The walk to the library felt like miles. Maya's mind raced with worst-case scenarios. Had something happened to Daniel? Was he at the hospital? Mrs. Chen stood by the window, her usual stern expression replaced with something softer. I owe you an apology, she said to Maya. I've been working for this family for 20 years. I watched Ethan grow up. I watched his mother die. And I watched him disappear into himself afterward. She looked at Ethan. These past weeks I've seen glimpses of the boy he used to be. The one who smiled and laughed and cared about things. That's because of you, Maya. Mrs. Chen, what's this about? Ethan asked. Your father may be a difficult man, but he's not the only one with resources in this house. She pulled out a folder. I made some calls today. There's a clinical research program at University Hospital. They're studying new treatments for pediatric heart conditions. It's a trial program, which means all medications and care are provided free of charge. Maya's legs went weak. What? I submitted Daniel's medical information this morning. They reviewed it and he qualifies. If you agree to enroll him, he starts next week. Mrs. Chen handed the folder to Maya. It's not a guaranteed cure, but it's a chance. A real one. Maya opened the folder with shaking hands. Pages of medical information, consent forms, trial details. Her vision blurred with tears. I don't understand. Why would you do this? Because that boy needs help. And because sometimes the right thing to do is the obvious thing to do, regardless of family politics. Mrs. Chen straightened her jacket. Also, you were right to tear up that check. Richard Thornton needed someone to stand up to him. Nobody's done that in years. Ethan was reading over Maya's shoulder. This program is legitimate. I've heard of it. They've had real success with cases like Daniel's. Maya couldn't hold back anymore. She started crying. Right there in the library, ugly crying with her hands covering her face. All the stress, the fear, the sleepless nights worrying about her brother. It all came pouring out. Mrs. Chen handed her tissues without a word. Thank you, Maya managed to say between sobs. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. The trial is rigorous. It'll mean hospital visits, monitoring, lifestyle changes. But Daniel will have a real shot at getting better. After Mrs. Chen left, Maya and Ethan sat in silence for a long time. The folder felt heavy in Maya's hands, like it contained not just papers, but hope itself. I need to tell Daniel, Maya said finally. He's going to lose his mind. I'll drive you home. You don't have to, Maya. Ethan took her hand again. I want to. Let me be there for this, please. They left through the front door this time, not the service entrance. As they walked past Richard's office, the door was closed. Maya wondered if he was in there, if he knew what Mrs. Chen had done, if he cared at all. The drive to Maya's apartment building took 40 minutes. Ethan's car, a simple sedan that definitely wasn't what she expected a billionaire's son to drive, felt like a safe bubble. They didn't talk much. There was too much to process. When they pulled up to her building, Ethan stared at the peeling paint and broken concrete. "This is where you live?" "Not everyone gets mansions," Maya said, a little defensive. "I know. I wish you didn't have to live like this. You deserve better." Deserving something and affording it are two different things. They climbed the 3 flights of stairs to her apartment. Maya unlocked the door, suddenly embarrassed about the cramped space. The second-hand furniture, the water stain on the ceiling they'd been trying to get the landlord to fix for months. Daniel was on the couch doing homework. He looked up surprised. "You're home early. Who's—" He stopped when he saw Ethan behind her. "Danny, this is my friend Ethan. We have something to tell you." Maya sat next to her brother and explained everything. The trial program, the free medication, the chance at getting better. Daniel listened quietly, his eyes getting wider and wider. "Wait, so I might actually get better? Like really better?" "Maybe. There's no guarantees, but it's a real chance." Daniel looked at the folder, then at Maya. Then he started crying too. "I don't have to die?" "No, baby. You're going to fight this thing and win." Daniel threw his arms around Maya, holding on tight. Over his shoulder, Maya caught Ethan's eyes. He was watching them with such tenderness that her heart ached. After Daniel calmed down and went to call his best friend with the news, Ethan stood to leave. They walked to the door together. "Thank you for being here," Maya said quietly. "Always." He hesitated. "About what I said earlier. In my room, I meant every word, but I know this is a lot for you to process. I'm not asking for an answer right now. I just needed you to know." Maya reached up and touched his face. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of this, of you. Of how much I'm starting to care about you. Our lives are so different. What if it doesn't work? What if your dad's right and I'm just some fantasy for you that'll wear off? He's not right. And I'm scared too. But maybe being scared together is better than being safe and alone." Maya stood on her toes and kissed him. Just a soft, brief kiss that said everything she wasn't ready to say out loud yet. When she pulled back, Ethan was smiling. "I'll take that as a maybe." "It's definitely a maybe." After he left, Maya leaned against the closed door. Her life had completely changed in one day. She'd lost a job, watched Ethan leave his family, and found hope for Daniel's future. Everything felt uncertain and terrifying, and somehow full of possibility at the same time. 6 months changed everything. Daniel's first month in the clinical trial was rough. Hospital visits twice a week, new medications that made him tired and nauseous, constant monitoring. But slowly, week by week, he got stronger. His color improved. His breathing got easier. By month 3, he was running again. Actually running, something the doctors said might never happen. Maya found a new job at a local coffee shop. The pay wasn't great, but the owner was kind and let her adjust her schedule around Daniel's hospital appointments. She'd been saving every extra dollar, dreaming about going back to school someday. Nursing, maybe. She wanted to help other families like hers. Ethan moved into his friend's apartment like he'd said. 2 bedrooms, 4th floor, no elevator. Nothing like the mansion. He loved it. His software company was growing faster than he'd expected. He'd landed 3 major contracts with schools that wanted his accessibility programs. Money was coming in. Real money that he'd earned himself. He and Maya took things slow. Coffee dates, walks in the park, movie nights at her apartment where Daniel would join them and offer running commentary. It wasn't fancy or dramatic. It was real life, and that made it better than any fairy tale. Maya had expected Ethan to struggle without his father's money. She'd worried he'd realize he missed his old life, but he seemed lighter somehow, like he'd been carrying a weight for years and finally put it down. "I don't miss it," he told her one night as they sat on her apartment's fire escape watching the city lights. "The mansion, the money, any of it. I miss my mom. But that house, it was just a place where I hid from living." "Do you miss your dad at all?" Ethan was quiet for a long time. "Sometimes. Not the person he became, but the person he used to be. Before Mom died, he was different. He'd laugh, tell jokes, play chess with me. It's like when she died, that version of him died too. Maybe he's still in there somewhere. Maybe. But I can't spend my life waiting for him to come back. Maya leaned her head on his shoulder. They'd gotten good at these comfortable silences, just being together without needing to fill every moment with words. The call came on a Tuesday evening. Maya was at work, making lattes and trying not to burn herself on the espresso machine. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Miss Rodriguez? This is Mrs. Chen." Maya's heart jumped. She hadn't spoken to Mrs. Chen since that day in the library. "Is everything okay?" "That depends on your definition of okay." Mrs. Chen's voice was careful. "Mr. Thornton has asked me to contact you. He'd like to speak with you and Ethan, tomorrow evening if possible." "Why?" "He didn't share his reasons with me. But I'll tell you this, between you and me, he's been different lately. Quieter. He had me pull out old photo albums last week. Pictures of his wife, of Ethan as a child. He's been sitting with them for hours." Maya didn't know what to say. "I think you should come." Mrs. Chen continued. "Both of you. Whatever he wants to say, he needs to say it. And perhaps you both need to hear it." That night, Maya told Ethan about the call. He stared at his dinner, pushing rice around his plate. "I don't know if I can do this," he said finally. "Face him again. You don't have to. We can ignore it. But what if—" He trailed off. "What if what?" "What if he's actually trying? What if Mrs. Chen's right and he's changing?" Maya took his hand. "Then we go and see. And if he's still the same cold person, we leave. But at least we'll know." The next evening, they drove to the mansion together. Maya hadn't been back since the day she was fired. The gates opened automatically, like they remembered her. Everything looked the same, but somehow different. Or maybe she was different, and that changed how she saw it. Mrs. Chen met them at the front door, not the service entrance. "He's in the library. I'll bring tea." "We can get our own tea," Ethan said. Mrs. Chen smiled slightly. "I know, but some rituals are comforting." Richard Thornton stood by the library window, his back to them. He looked smaller than Maya remembered. Older. His shoulders weren't quite as straight, his hair a little more gray. "Thank you for coming," he said without turning around. "I wasn't sure you would." "Mrs. Chen can be persuasive," Ethan replied, his voice carefully neutral. Richard finally turned to face them. His eyes went to Maya first, then to his son. "I owe you both an apology. A real one. Not a business negotiation dressed up as remorse." Nobody spoke. The silence stretched out. "When my wife died, I shut down. I threw myself into work because it was easier than feeling anything. Easier than being a father to a son who was grieving just as much as I was." Richard's voice cracked slightly. "I told myself I was protecting you, Ethan. Protecting our legacy, our family name. But really, I was just protecting myself from having to be human." "Dad," Ethan started, but Richard held up his hand. "Let me finish. I need to say this." He took a breath. "When you left, I was angry, furious. How dare you choose some girl over your family, over everything I'd built? But then the house was empty. Really empty. And I realized something. You were right. It wasn't a home anymore. It was a museum where I stored my grief." Richard walked to his desk and picked up a photo frame. "Your mother took this. You were 7, maybe 8. We'd gone to the beach and you'd built this elaborate sandcastle. You were so proud of it." He showed them the photo. Young Ethan grinning at the camera covered in sand. "She told me that day that success wasn't about money or business. It was about moments like these. Times when we were just happy being together." Tears were running down Richard's face. Maya had never imagined this cold man could cry. "I forgot that. I forgot all of it. And I almost lost you completely because of it." He looked at Ethan. "You were braver than me. You chose to live instead of hide. You chose love over comfort. That took courage I didn't have." Ethan's own eyes were wet now. "I didn't do it to hurt you, I know. You did it to save yourself, and in the process you showed me how lost I'd become." Richard turned to Maya. "And you. I said terrible things about you. Treated you like you were worthless. But you stood up to me when no one else would. You showed more dignity and strength in that moment than I've shown in 5 years." Maya's throat was tight. "I didn't do anything special. You did. You refused to be bought. You valued yourself and your principles over money. That's rare. That's real character." Richard sat down heavily, like standing was too much effort. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know that takes time if it comes at all. I'm just asking for a chance. A chance to try to be the person my wife would have wanted me to be. The father you deserved, Ethan. Ethan walked over slowly and sat across from his father. They looked at each other for a long moment, years of pain and distance hanging between them. "I can't come back here," Ethan said. "I can't live in this house again. I'm not asking you to. You've built your own life. I'm proud of that even if I never said it, but maybe we could have dinner sometimes. Try to talk?" "I'd like that." They didn't hug. It wasn't that kind of moment. But something shifted in the air, some tiny crack in the wall between them. A year later, Maya stood in her nursing school uniform, holding her acceptance letter. She'd done it. Community college, top of her class, and now a full scholarship to a nursing program. Ethan had made dinner to celebrate. Daniel was setting the table, and there was a knock at the door. Richard stood there, awkward and uncertain, holding flowers. Mrs. Chen said these were appropriate for celebrations. "I'm not good at this sort of thing yet." "You came," Maya said, genuinely surprised. "Ethan mentioned your acceptance. I hoped I might be welcome to celebrate with you." Maya stepped aside. "Come in." Dinner was stilted at first. Richard didn't know how to be casual, how to just be part of a regular family meal. But Daniel, fearless as always, started asking him about business. Richard answered, then asked Daniel about school. Slowly, conversation started flowing. Later, as Richard was leaving, he pulled Maya aside. "Thank you for giving an old fool a second chance. Not many people would. Everyone deserves a chance to change. You're trying. That matters. My son is lucky to have you. You've made him happy in ways I never could. He makes me happy too." After Richard left, Maya and Ethan stood on the fire escape again, their spot for important moments. Daniel was healthy now, officially in remission. Maya was starting her nursing career. Ethan's company had just hired its 10th employee. And Richard was slowly, carefully trying to rebuild what he'd broken. "Think about how this all started," Ethan said. "You spilled a mop bucket and I happened to be there. Best accident of my life, mine too." He pulled her close. "You know what's funny? That day I was actually heading out to leave. I was going to walk out of that house and never come back. But then I heard the crash and I found you and everything changed. Fate's weird like that." "Yeah, it is." They stood together, looking out at the city. No mansion, no luxury. Just a small apartment and a life they'd built with their own hands. It wasn't perfect. Money was still tight sometimes. Richard still said awkward, hurtful things without meaning to. Daniel still had checkups that made Maya nervous, but it was real. It was theirs. And that made it more valuable than any amount of money could ever be. Below them, a girl walked past carrying a mop bucket, probably heading to a night cleaning job. Maya watched her and thought about that first day, standing in front of those iron gates, scared and desperate. She'd been that girl just a year and a half ago. Poor, struggling, unsure if she'd make it through another day. Now she was building something, not just surviving but actually living, creating a future instead of just trying to get through the present. "What are you thinking?" Ethan asked. Maya smiled. "I'm thinking about how far we've come. How much can change when you're brave enough to choose love over fear." Deep thoughts for a Tuesday night. Someone wise once told me that being scared together is better than being safe and alone. Sounds like a smart guy. He has his moments. They went back inside, where Daniel had claimed the TV and was arguing with them about what to watch. Their small apartment filled with laughter and friendly bickering and the sounds of a real family. It wasn't the ending Maya had imagined when she first walked up to that mansion. It was better, because it wasn't really an ending at all. It was just the beginning of everything that mattered.